The night was thick with an unnatural fog as I gripped the steering wheel, my knuckles turning white. The desolate highway stretched out endlessly before me, disappearing into the swirling mist. My headlights cut through the fog, revealing only a few feet of the road ahead. I had heard the stories of the cosmic fog, but I never imagined I would find myself driving through it. I had been on the road for hours, my destination a distant city that seemed to be drifting further away with each passing mile. The radio crackled with static, and the occasional disembodied voice whispered through the interference. Unease settled in the pit of my stomach as I pressed on, the only sound the hum of my tires on the damp asphalt. Suddenly, the fog thickened, wrapping around my car like a suffocating shroud. The world outside my windshield became a formless void, and the only guideposts were the dim glow of my headlights. I could feel a weight in the air, a palpable sense of foreboding that made my skin prickle with unease. As I strained to see through the dense mist, a ghastly figure materialized before me. It was a creature unlike anything I had ever seen, a mass of shifting shadows and elongated limbs. My heart pounded in my chest as I swerved to avoid it, the creature dissipating like smoke in the wind. I took a shaky breath, my eyes darting around, searching for any sign of the nightmarish entities that lurked within the fog. The stories had warned of extraterrestrial horrors, but nothing could have prepared me for the reality of it all. The road twisted and turned, an indistinct path through the ethereal landscape. Shadows danced at the edge of my vision, and strange, guttural sounds echoed in the fog. My hands trembled on the wheel as I navigated the highway, each curve a potential encounter with the unknown. It was then that I saw them, grotesque forms emerging from the mist. Twisted, deformed creatures with luminous eyes and elongated limbs. They moved with an otherworldly grace, their movements unsettlingly fluid. I felt a surge of terror as they closed in, their unearthly wails reverberating through the fog. I accelerated, the engine roaring as I pushed my car to its limits. The creatures kept pace, their nightmarish forms flickering in and out of existence. Panic clawed at the edges of my mind as I realized there was no escape. The fog had become a prison, and I was at the mercy of whatever lurked within. Desperation set in as I considered my options. I couldn't outrun them, and the fog obscured any hope of finding shelter. It was then that I noticed a dim light in the distance, a feeble beacon cutting through the cosmic haze. Without hesitation, I steered toward it, praying it would lead me to safety. As I approached, the light revealed itself to be a flickering neon sign, Cosmic Diner. It stood alone in the desolation, a small oasis amidst the chaos. I parked my car and stumbled out, the fog clinging to me like a spectral presence. The diner's door creaked open, a bell jingling softly as I entered. The interior was a throwback to a bygone era, complete with checkerboard floors and vinyl booths. The air was heavy with the scent of old coffee and grease, a stark contrast to the alien landscape outside. Behind the counter stood a weary-looking waitress, her eyes reflecting a deep knowing. She gestured for me to sit at the counter, her expression a mix of sympathy and resignation. I hesitated for a moment before taking a seat, my nerves on edge. "You're not the first to find refuge here," she said, her voice a weary whisper. "The cosmic fog claims many souls, but some are lucky enough to stumble upon this haven." I glanced around the diner, noticing the other patrons, a disparate group of individuals who shared the same haunted look in their eyes. They sat in silence, nursing their coffee as if it were a lifeline in this surreal purgatory. The waitress poured me a cup, the liquid dark and fragrant. As I took a sip, she leaned in, her eyes locking onto mine. "You can't stay here forever," she warned, her words laden with a heavy truth. "The fog is relentless, and it will find you eventually. But for now, you're safe in the Cosmic Diner." I nodded, the weight of her words settling over me like a shroud. The diner became my refuge, a temporary sanctuary from the extraterrestrial terrors that lurked just beyond the foggy veil. The hours passed in a surreal haze, and I found myself exchanging wary glances with the other patrons. As the first light of dawn began to pierce the fog, the waitress approached me, her eyes holding a mixture of sympathy and sorrow. "It's time for you to go," she said softly. "The fog recedes with the daylight, and you have a choice to make." stay on the road, or find another haven when the night falls again. I thanked her, my gratitude tinged with a profound sense of dread. As I stepped back into the dissipating fog, the world outside the diner felt like a dream, or perhaps a waking nightmare. The highway stretched out before me, the remnants of the cosmic fog clinging to the edges of reality. I knew that the horrors of the night were still out there, waiting to reclaim me. With a heavy heart, I climbed back into my car and drove into the uncertain dawn. The road ahead a winding path through the unknown.
The night was thick with an eerie stillness as I drove along the desolate highway. My headlights cut through the darkness, casting long shadows that seemed to dance with malevolent intent. The monotony of the road was broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves and the distant hum of my engine. My eyelids drooped with exhaustion, and the hypnotic rhythm of the road threatened to lull me into a drowsy stupor. Just when I thought the night couldn't get any more monotonous, the piercing glare of a toll booth's light sliced through the obsidian void. I blinked, my groggy mind struggling to comprehend the sudden appearance of the roadside structure. I had been driving for hours, and I could swear there was no mention of a toll booth on this forsaken stretch of road. My foot eased off the gas as I approached the dimly lit booth. A flickering neon sign above it read, "Midnight Toll. Pay the price." Unease slithered up my spine, but a sense of curiosity compelled me to slow down and roll down my window. The toll booth operator, a figure shrouded in shadows, leaned forward to reveal a gnarled hand extending toward me. "Welcome, traveler," a gravelly voice echoed from the hidden depths of the toll booth. "The toll is not paid in currency but in memories, the cherished fragments of your past." Confusion clouded my thoughts, but the mysterious atmosphere surrounding the toll booth captivated me. "Memories," the toll booth demanded. "How could one pay a toll in memories?" As if sensing my skepticism, the operator continued, "Those who traverse this road must relinquish pieces of the past to proceed. Refusal comes with its own consequences." With a hesitant nod, I consented to the bizarre toll, unsure of what memories I was about to surrender. The gnarled hand extended further, and an ethereal mist seeped through the window, wrapping around my consciousness like a spectral veil. Visions flickered before my eyes, fleeting images of childhood laughter, the warmth of a long-lost embrace, and the echoes of a forgotten love. As the memories dissipated into the ethereal mist, a wave of melancholy washed over me. The toll booth operator withdrew the hand, and the air shimmered with a subtle energy. The flickering neon sign above now read, "Paid in time." I drove on, the road stretching out before me, but an eerie stillness lingered in the air. The highway seemed to wind through a dense fog that obscured the edges of reality. The landscape morphed into a surreal dreamscape, where shadows played tricks on my senses, and the distant echoes of my memories reverberated through the void. The road ahead twisted and turned, each bend revealing an unsettling tableau of distorted memories. Faces from my past appeared in the periphery, distorted and contorted into grotesque masks of torment. A disembodied voice whispered half-forgotten secrets, and phantom footsteps echoed in the emptiness. As the miles passed, the toll booth's toll became more apparent. The memories I had relinquished left a void within me, an emptiness that gnawed at the edges of my sanity. Faces and names danced at the fringes of my consciousness, just beyond the reach of recollection. I was a stranger to my past, a wanderer in the fog of forgotten time. The highway led me to a desolate town that seemed frozen in perpetual twilight. Dilapidated buildings lined the streets, and the flickering streetlights cast long, twisted shadows on the cracked pavement. The town was a ghostly echo of a place that once held significance in my lost memories. As I explored the eerie streets, a sense of déjà vu washed over me. Vague recollections stirred within, like fragments of a fractured dream. Faces of people I once knew, landmarks that felt both familiar and alien, and the distant strains of a haunting melody, all elements of my past, now obscured by the toll booth's insidious toll. In the center of the town stood an ancient clock tower, its hands frozen in time. As I approached, the toll booth's toll manifested once again. Echoes of a forgotten love story played out in my mind, a tragic tale of heartache and separation. A tear traced its way down my cheek, carrying the weight of a love lost to the merciless toll booth. The toll booth had become a malevolent puppeteer, manipulating the strands of my past to weave a tapestry of despair. I stumbled through the town's melancholic landscape, haunted by the specters of my memories. Faces and voices emerged from the shadows, their eyes accusing me of the toll I had paid. As the night wore on, the toll booth's toll intensified. The town transformed into a nightmarish labyrinth, its streets contorting and shifting like a fevered dream. The memories I had relinquished returned in distorted forms, each recollection a grotesque caricature of its former self. I found myself in a surreal maze of mirrors, each reflecting a different facet of my fragmented past. The toll booth's toll had become a relentless assault on my sanity, a relentless barrage of distorted memories that threatened to consume me. Faces twisted into grotesque masks, and voices merged into a dissonant chorus of torment. In the heart of the mirror maze, I confronted the toll booth's operator once more. The gnarled hand extended, and this time it held a mirror. My reflection stared back at me, but the eyes were hollow, devoid of the essence that once defined me. The mirror shattered, and the toll booth operator spoke. "You have paid the toll, but the toll is never truly paid. It lingers, a phantom weight on the soul." I fled the mirror maze, my footsteps echoing in the empty corridors of my fractured memories. The toll booth's toll had become an inescapable specter, a haunting reminder of the fragments I had surrendered. The highway beckoned me once more, a winding path through the twisted corridors of my past. As I drove away from the haunted town, the fog lifted, and the landscape returned to a semblance of normalcy. But the toll booth's toll remained, a lingering shadow that tainted the very fabric of my being. The memories I had relinquished were forever lost, leaving me adrift in a sea of forgotten recollections. The highway stretched out before me, an endless ribbon of asphalt that led to an uncertain destination. The toll booth had become a distant memory, but its echoes reverberated in the hollow chambers of my mind. The road ahead held the promise of new horizons, but the toll booth's toll had forever altered the landscape of my soul. I drove into the unknown, a wanderer on the midnight toll highway, forever haunted by the toll I had paid in memories.
The road stretched out ahead, a ribbon of asphalt disappearing into the black void of the night. My hands clenched the steering wheel, and my gaze flickered nervously between the dim glow of the dashboard and the impenetrable darkness outside. The radio emitted only static, leaving me alone with the haunting echoes of my own breath in the confines of the car. I was traversing the nightmare highway, a desolate stretch of road whispered about in the darkest corners of urban legends. The stories spoke of a highway that existed between worlds, a cosmic anomaly where the barriers between dimensions were thin, and unimaginable terrors awaited those who dared to drive its winding path. As the miles slipped away beneath my tires, a sense of unease settled over me like a shroud. The air within the car became heavy, laden with an oppressive stillness that seemed to defy the laws of nature. I couldn't shake the feeling that unseen eyes were watching, assessing, and judging my presence on this accursed road. The landscape outside the window was an indistinct blur, the only visible markers being the reflective dots along the edges of the highway. A flickering neon sign ahead pierced the darkness, revealing the silhouette of a roadside motel. "The Eclipse Inn," it proclaimed, its letters glowing with an eerie luminescence. Despite the chill crawling up my spine, the low fuel indicator forced me to pull into the motel's nearly empty parking lot. A sense of foreboding accompanied me as I approached the flickering sign. The reception area was dimly lit, casting long shadows that seemed to dance in unnatural patterns. The motel clerk, an elderly man with sunken eyes that betrayed the weight of unseen horrors, handed me a rusty key with the number 13 etched into it. "Luck be with you on the nightmare highway," he rasped, a grim smile revealing a set of yellowed teeth. Room 13 loomed at the end of a narrow corridor, its door slightly ajar as if inviting me into a realm where reality itself wavered. With a hesitant breath, I pushed open the door, revealing a room that seemed to exist at the intersection of the mundane and the macabre. The air inside was thick with a disconcerting stillness, and the dim light struggled to pierce the gloom. The room was adorned with outdated furnishings that seemed frozen in time, as though the passage of years had left no mark within its walls. The bedspread was a faded floral pattern, and the wallpaper peeled away in places, revealing the decaying soul of the Eclipse Inn. Despite the unsettling ambience, fatigue gnawed at my bones, and I succumbed to the lure of the worn mattress. As I lay there in the dimness, a sense of vulnerability washed over me. The shadows seemed to coalesce in the corners, whispering secrets that eluded my conscious understanding. Sleep came reluctantly, and when it did, it was accompanied by nightmarish visions. I found myself walking down an endless corridor, each step echoing with a sense of inevitability. The walls were adorned with portraits that seemed to watch my every move, their eyes following me with an unsettling intensity. I awoke with a start, my heart pounding in my chest. The room was enveloped in a profound silence, broken only by the distant hum of passing cars on the nightmare highway. The flickering bedside lamp cast distorted shadows that seemed to dance to an otherworldly rhythm. As I groggily sat up, the room shifted. Reality itself seemed to warp and contort, as if the boundaries between dimensions were dissolving. A cold sweat broke across my forehead as I witnessed the gradual transformation, the mundane giving way to the malevolent. The room was no longer a relic of the past but a gateway to something beyond comprehension. The wallpaper pulsated with a sickly energy, and the air crackled with an unnatural charge. I stumbled to my feet, my hands trembling as I fumbled for the door. Beyond the threshold, the corridor stretched into infinity. Doors lined the passageway, each one a portal to a different reality. The once familiar hallway had become a cosmic labyrinth, a nightmarish maze where every step held the potential for unimaginable horrors. With trepidation, I chose a door at random, the knob cool beneath my touch. As I stepped through, the world shifted once more. I found myself standing in the midst of a desolate landscape, a realm bathed in an otherworldly glow. The sky above was a canvas of swirling colors, and the ground beneath my feet seemed to writhe with spectral energies. Shapes moved in the periphery of my vision, grotesque entities with limbs that defied geometry. Eyes, voids of cosmic dread, fixated on me with an inscrutable intelligence. The very fabric of this dimension seemed to hum with a dissonant melody, and the air vibrated with a malevolent force. A voice echoed from the shadows, a chorus of whispers that reverberated through the alien landscape. You have trespassed into the realms beyond, interloper. This is the crossroads of nightmares, and you are but a fleeting intruder. The entities drew closer, their forms shifting and morphing in ways that defied earthly logic. I could feel the weight of their gaze, an otherworldly scrutiny that transcended the boundaries of mortal comprehension. Panic welled within me, and I sprinted through the alien landscape, desperate to escape the cosmic horrors that pursued me. With each door I passed through, the dimensions twisted and contorted. I found myself in surreal landscapes where gravity shifted, time unraveled, and the very laws of reality were rendered null. It was a kaleidoscope of terror, a relentless onslaught that pushed the limits of my sanity. In one dimension, I stood atop towering cliffs that overlooked a bottomless abyss. The sky above was a maelstrom of swirling storms, and the ground trembled beneath my feet. Shadows danced along the edges of the precipice, whispering temptations of surrender. In another, I found myself submerged in an ocean of liquid darkness. Bioluminescent creatures with jagged teeth swam through the void, their eyes gleaming with predatory hunger. The pressure of the abyss pressed in from all sides, threatening to crush me beneath its unfathomable weight. As I stumbled through the dimensions, I could sense a malevolent intelligence guiding the nightmarish journey. The whispers grew louder, converging into a cacophony of voices that seemed to speak directly into the recesses of my mind. They spoke of fears long buried, nightmares suppressed, and vulnerabilities laid bare. In the final dimension, I stood before a towering figure, a cosmic entity that existed at the nexus of realities. Its eyes were vast voids that swallowed the very essence of light, and its form transcended the boundaries of mortal comprehension. It spoke with a voice that resonated through the fabric of the cosmos. You have danced through the corridors of fear, mortal. Your journey has come to an end. A blinding light enveloped me, and I felt myself being drawn back through the cosmic tapestry. The dimensions folded and collapsed, and the alien landscapes faded into the recesses of memory. I gasped for breath, finding myself once again in the dimly lit corridor of the Eclipse Inn. Room 13 loomed ahead, its door ajar as if mocking the cosmic odyssey I had just experienced. The shadows within the room seemed to writhe with a newfound intensity, and the air held a lingering echo of the unearthly dimensions I had traversed. The motel's corridor, once a passage through the cosmic unknown, now felt eerily ordinary. The doors no longer led to realms beyond, and the flickering light overhead cast mundane shadows on the worn carpet. The nightmare highway, it seemed, had released its grip on me, leaving only the lingering residue of a surreal journey. With a heavy breath, I stumbled back into room 13, the door creaking shut behind me. The air within the room, though no longer pulsating with cosmic energies, still carried a weight of lingering unease. I collapsed onto the bed, the events of the night swirling through my mind like a fever dream. As the first light of dawn began to pierce the darkness outside, I emerged from the Eclipse Inn, my footsteps heavy with the weight of an otherworldly journey. The nightmare highway stretched out before me, the asphalt winding its way through the desolate landscape. I hesitated for a moment, glancing back at the motel that seemed frozen in time. The road called out, an open invitation to continue the journey into the unknown. But the horrors I had witnessed lingered, and the memories of cosmic dimensions haunted my every thought. With a heavy heart, I stepped back into my car, the engine roaring to life. The tires crunched on the gravel as I drove away from the Eclipse Inn, leaving the nightmare highway behind, at least for now. As I ventured back into the realm of the mundane, the memories of the cosmic horrors remained etched in my mind. The boundaries between realities may have closed, but the echoes of that fateful night reverberated through the corridors of my consciousness. The nightmare highway had revealed a cosmic tapestry of fears, and I was forever marked by the indelible imprint of the interdimensional odyssey.